the orangutan, the man of the forest. This great ape lives only in Borneo and here in Sumatra. 20,000 years ago it was found on the mainland too, but now these islands are its last refuge. Orangutans are fruit eaters, but prolific fruiting trees like figs are widely scattered, so they have to cover a lot of forest to find enough food. Few trees have enough fruit to feed more than 1 or 2 animals as big as this, so these apes can't live in large groups. Young animals stay with their mothers for several years, but full-grown males are solitary. Despite their weight, orangutans in Sumatra spend most of their time up in the trees. They travel on the ground only when there is no alternative. And this is one reason why. Sumatra still has tigers. A tiger could kill an orangutan, especially a young one.
Okay, authors, today we are going to read another article about orangutans. When you were working with Scientist Kate, you learned a lot of information about the kind of climate and temperatures that orangutans need in order to thrive and survive. Today we're going to read an article that tells us specifically why those rainforest trees in Sumatra and Borneo are so important. Now, good writers make sure that they keep all the good knowledge that they learn about what they're studying in their brains by taking notes. So just like we did in class, when we did the performance task about wildebeest, we're going to read this article and then we're going to take notes on the article. So what you'll need today is the article, which you can get from this video. I also put it on our Schoology page, so if you have a printer and wanted to print it out, you could, but there's no need for that if you don't want to, because it will be right here and we'll read through it together. What you will need at home, though, is your journal and something to write with. So the first thing you're going to do is write the date, as always, 5-4-20. Then you're going to write the title of this text that we're reading, which is Orangutans Need the Trees. So go ahead and make sure you've written the title and the date. If you need more time to have done that, go ahead and pause the video. The rest of us are going to move on by I'm just going to take my paper and I'm going to put a short little crease, a light little crease down the center to help me draw a line. And I'm going to draw a line right down the center of my paper. And the reason I've done that, third graders, is because this article that you are about to read is broken up into 2 major reasons that the orangutans need the trees. The first reason, can you see the heading, is travel. The second reason is protection. So those are going to be the 2 headings on the top of our notes. We'll put all notes about travel here. So go ahead and write the word travel, T-R-A-V-E-L, travel. In the next column, write the word protection, P-R-O-T-E-C-T-I-O-N, protection. Okay, once you have done that, you're all ready to read the article. But we're not going to take notes the first time we read it. We're just going to read through each section to understand the text, and then we're going to go back, read it again, and take notes. Orangutans need the trees. So you can do one of two things. You can follow right along with me, reading out loud, or you can just track me with your eyes as I read out loud. Today, orangutans can be found living on the two Indonesian islands of Sumatra and Borneo. These islands' tropical rainforests are ideal habitats for this endangered great ape. The temperature and climate of these forests mean that the ground is covered with lush tree and plant growth that the orangutan depends on for survival. Travel. Orangutans get their name from the Malay term orangutan, which means person of the forest. Orangutans live only in a rainforest habitat and depend on the trees for their protection as it is a safe way to travel. An orangutan's body makes tree living easy for them. They have very long arms that reach all the way down to their feet. This helps them to move easily through the trees. They use their long arms to swing from tree to tree using branches and vines. This helps them to travel and look for food. In their lifetime, an orangutan can travel hundreds of kilometers. A mother orangutan will glide through the trees while carting her baby for up to 5 years. Without the ability to swing through the trees, orangutans would not be able to travel. Without the ability to swing through the trees, orangutans would be able to travel a much shorter distance. Protection. Orangutan males spend 90% of their time in the tree canopy of their tropical rainforest home. Female orangutans spend even more time in trees. Tree living allows orangutans to avoid the predators that they share their rainforest home with. The Indonesian rainforest is home to predators such as the clouded leopard, tigers, and wild dogs. These animals could be very deadly to the peaceful orangutans. They can hide in the lush rainforest and jump out at slower moving orangutans. This is especially true of the female orangutan that is quite a bit smaller than the male orangutan. A male orangutan can be up to 3 times larger than the female. That is why they dare to go on the forest floor a little bit more than the female. There are no tigers in the island of Borneo. As a result, orangutans can be found on the forest floor more often than their Sumatran relatives. This is proof that the orangutans rely very heavily on the trees to protect them. As the rainforest is being cut down to plant palms that supply the world with palm oil, orangutans are in great danger. Without the tropical rainforest native to their island homes, orangutans are in great danger of predators and are not able to travel to find the food that they need to survive. Okay, lots of good information there. We're going to go back through it, taking our notes this time, and we're going to write down the key facts. Now, third graders, we don't need to write down every single thing we read about. We just need to write down those things that are super important that we might actually need to use in our writing. So, also, one thing to keep in mind is these are notes. You have to be able to go back and use these, so write legibly. Doesn't have to be your absolute neatest handwriting because you're not turning them in to be published, but you have to be able to read them. So, neat handwriting. The second thing is, I always tell you it's so important to answer questions in whole sentences. Well, these are not questions. And you don't have to write in whole sentences. These are your notes. You need to write sentences that help you to trigger what you've learned. You'll notice that I'm writing in shorthand. So what you're going to do today is you are going to reread this with me, and we're going to write down those really important facts. So right now, I'm just going to read the article on the heading, the section on travel. So listen again and try and think of what's really important. What things do you really want to remember about this part of the text? So I'm going to start here with travel. Orangutans get their name from the Malay term orangutan, which means person of the forest. Orangutans live only in a rainforest habitat and depend on the trees for their protection, as it is a safe way to travel. An orangutan's body makes tree living easy for them. They have very long arms that reach all the way down to their feet. This helps them to move easily through the trees. They use their arms to swing from tree to tree using branches and vines. This helps them to travel and look for food. In their lifetime, an orangutan can travel hundreds of kilometers. A mother orangutan will glide through the trees while carting their baby for up to 5 years. Without the ability to swing through the trees, orangutans would be able to travel a much shorter distance. Okay, so the first thing I want to put is this fact that orangutans the name means man of the forest. I think that's important because it proves that, they belong in the forest. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little dot right there, and then I'm going to write orangutan's name comes from term meaning person of forest. So you go ahead and write that too. I'll read it one more time and show you. Orangutan's name comes from term meaning person of forest. If at any point I'm going too fast and you're having a hard time writing, just go ahead and pause after each new note I take. The second thing that I want to talk about is their arms. It talked a lot in here about arms and how important their arms are. Because their arms come all the way down to their feet, they can easily glide through the trees. So I'm going to put that. Arms long enough to reach feet. Go ahead and write that note. Long arms mean they can swing in trees. So those long arms that reach all the way down to their feet means that they can swing in the trees. The next note that I want to put is they use vines and branches to swing. Use vines and branches to swing. And traveling's important to them. Do you remember why? That's right, that's how they find food. So, travel to find food. And that is reminding me of in the video we watched at the beginning of this lesson, where it said that they had to travel large distances to get all of that good fruit that they eat. And it did say in the text that they travel hundreds of kilometers in their lifetime. So I just wrote travel hundreds of kilometers in life. And the last important fact about travel that I saw is that mothers travel holding on to their babies for up to 5 years. Mothers travel holding babies, and that's a way that mothers protect their babies. So I'm just going to put moms protect babies. I don't know about you, but when you watch that video at the beginning of the lesson, it was really scary the way that tiger was looking at the mom. Okay, so we have now written all of the important facts in our notes for travel. We're going to do the same thing for protection. So I'm going to go ahead and reread that portion of the text. I want you either reading out loud along with me or just tracking it with your eyes, but make sure you're paying attention to the important things you're learning in this part of the text. Protection. Orangutan males spend 90% of their time in the tree canopy of their tropical rainforest home. Female orangutans spend even more time in trees. Tree living allows orangutans to avoid the predators that they share their rainforest home with. Indonesian rainforest is home to predators such as the clouded leopard, tigers, and wild dog. These animals could be very deadly to peaceful orangutans. They can hide in the lush rainforest and jump out at slower moving orangutans. This is especially true of the female orangutan that is quite a bit smaller than the male orangutan. A male orangutan can be up to 3 times larger than the female. That is why they will dare to go on the forest floor a little bit more than the female. There are no tigers on the island of Borneo. As a result, orangutans can be found on the forest floor more often than their Sumatran relatives. This is proof that the orangutans rely very heavily on the trees to protect them. As the rainforest is being cut down to plant palms that supply the world with palm oil, orangutans are in great danger. Without the tropical rainforest native to their island homes, orangutans are in great danger of predators and are not able to travel to find the food that they need to survive. Okay, lots of good information in here. The first thing I learned that I think is super important is that orangutans spend, remember how much time? That's right, 90%. So orangutans spend 90% of time in trees. Go ahead and write that down. Again, don't forget, you have the ability to pause me if I'm going too fast. We also learned that females spend even more time. So females spend, and I'm going to use a symbol here, greater than, time in trees, because they spend more time in trees than male. Females spend greater than males time in trees. It said that they can avoid predators in trees. And I certainly would want to avoid some of the predators in their rainforest home for sure. I also learned what those predators are. Do you remember? Predators equal tigers, like we saw in the video, clouded leopards, and wild dogs. And the last bit of important information, the author called it proof that there are no tigers in in Borneo, which means in Borneo they spend more time on the forest floor. So I'm going to write, first fact, no tigers in Borneo. Orangutans on forest floor more in Borneo. They don't need to worry about protecting themselves quite as much in Borneo because there are no tigers. So we know that orangutans are on the forest floor more. So this is all the really important information that we needed about the way orangutans use that forest floor to both travel and protect themselves. If you need to spend any more time writing down the notes, go ahead and pause the video, zoom in, and write your notes. Okay, third graders, we will use these notes next week as we're looking at writing our very own claim and persuading the Wildlife Protection Organization to make the orangutans reserve home on Blue Island. What you need to do is save these notes for next week. They're going to be really important. On Monday, we're going to read another article about orangutans needing the trees, but this time, instead of concentrating on travel or protection, we're going to concentrate on food. So keep this in a safe place. First, send a picture to your teacher. All right, third graders, thanks for all your hard work today. Take care. Talk soon.